House to Home, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.
Is it already 2025? My goodness, it is. And Liz and Gina are both not with us, as you can see from their virtual backgrounds. Well, Gina is in Tokyo right now, taking a very well-deserved vacation. And Liz, you're probably somewhere in
I'm
Europe at
here.
this point. Oh,
No,
you're
I'm
okay.
here. I'm here. Yeah.
I'm here because I never leave. But happy to be with you, and we hope your families had a wonderful New Year's.
Oh, it was beautiful. Thank you,
Oh,
Jason. You
okay, and
too.
Wonderful family time for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we are all very, very blessed and everything. And that's kind of the point because I want to kind of talk today about current events, if I can, ladies, because we ran a story, one of my colleagues here in the newsroom did, about Doug Moylan, our Attorney General, has been publishing these billboards up on Airport Road. The latest one is actually making what many believe a very strong statement about panhandling in our community. But apparently somebody went out and they vandalized and sprayed a strong message across that in the last few days and saying, and I quote, housing is a human right. So, ladies, I was curious about your thoughts about housing actually being a right that is inalienable to all of us as Americans or just citizens of the world.
Well, my
Hmm.
opinion is housing is, housing is an American dream. Everyone has the right to housing. There are different ways to make that mechanism happen. So if you can afford it, then you can either rent or you can purchase for to house your family. Now, of course, we do have a housing shortage, and there's also a housing problem for the homeless. So I know the government has been working on different, because I've taken some of the government officials around to look at properties that they could purchase using federal grants to house the homeless. I'm not sure where that program is right now, but I do know that they did have different facilities for that purpose. So, from the private sector to the government, there are two aspects to the housing issue for homeless and for the private sector. I
Okay,
mean,
Gina,
that
I was thinking about you and specifically your opinions on this because you've never been one to not formulate an opinion about topics, regardless of how controversial they are, and then share your opinion about them. And also, the both of you have done work over your years in this industry to provide um, capable, like very good homes for people in our community who can't afford, like say, like big mansions.
So the rights we have are the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I'm sure I read
Those
that
are our
somewhere.
rights. Okay.
Mhm.
Housing is your responsibility. It is not the government's responsibility. It is not my responsibility. But for low income families, yeah, the government has to step in and take a position and provide some resources. But for everybody else, and I know I'm going to get pushback on this, but go get a job. Do what I did. I got a job. I saved up. I did what I needed to do. And Liz was right on the nail. It is a dream. It is not a right. Um, you know, Low income families, they're being helped by the community, by the government. And I'm an advocate for that. But everybody else, go get a job, save up, work on your credit, and go buy a house. Or go have work with your family about getting property. That is your right, absolutely. But for the AG's billboard, I commend him. It's about time somebody enforced the law. So Doug Moylan, go, 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 enforce the law. Yeah, people that are panhandling out there, if I want to give money, I will give money. No one's going to tell me what to do and what not to do. That is my choice. If I want to give him money, I'm going to give him money. If I don't want to give it to them, I'm not ashamed not to give. I give where I feel it's warranted. And I also believe that you shouldn't be out there panhandling. I see a difference between some of the people out there. Some of them really should just go get a job. And sometimes I feel like I want to guide them in that direction. Hey, I know this place is hiring. Would you like to go there? But the rest,
Gina,
they
Gina,
look like I know they don't want. I've tried talking to them and saying, hey, here's this amount, but I know this place is hiring, and they frankly have told me, hey, if I was interested in a job, I wouldn't be out here. Okay, fine, I get it. And so if I'm interested in giving to you, I will. If I'm not, I'll be my own judge, and God will judge me. It's not your business to judge me for not giving. And the ones that are the rest of them out there, Jason, I see them, there are some people out there that you've seen over the years, and over the years they're declining more and more. I wish that the thing that I would wish for is that maybe if there were a service to pick up these mostly young men, pick them up and take them to some kind of facility where they could get help. But I know you can't force them to get help. And so that's the dilemma in our community. But as far as the billboard's concerned, yeah, go for it, Doug Moylan. Thank you for enforcing the law.
Go ahead, Liz, because I know you wanted to say something.
No, I was just laughing as Gina was explaining, because the one time she was handing money out, she was explaining that she was trying to help the person and say, hey, so-and-so has a job. They're looking for people.
Yeah.
And again, the feedback was, if I wanted a job, I wouldn't be here. And I remember talking to a social service individual. Just bear in mind, there's food that's being given out. There is also food stamps. There's social government programs that take care of the homeless. But I think the information I was given, that the people that are out there, some of them are out there to collect money to fuel their cigarettes, their alcohol, or their drug habits. But again, as Gina puts it, who are we to judge? But that was the info I was giving. So if you look at it, if the homeless are given all these programs, what's the point in going out there, unless they're not part of the program and they're trying to collect monies? But all the signs out there have different issues, homeless or a vet.
Yeah, go ahead, Gina.
Jason, what I want to point out is I understand the writing on that billboard, housing is a right. I understand that. But the way to go about promoting that idea is to come to the legislative hearings when we advocate that we need to be out there. The group in our community that is not being helped really right now are the working class people in our community. The cost of rents and the cost of housing has gone up so much. And part of that is the interest rates, which we cannot control. The government can't control that. But there are things that the government can control that can help the working class community. And so that's what I'm advocating for, is that we're always promoting the idea that you come and join us so that we could go to the legislature and promote programs to help the working class. And that's what I'm advocating for. Let the AG enforce the laws we have in the books. If you don't like the laws, let's go to the legislature and change the laws. But in the meantime, he's enforcing the laws. And for the rest of us who want to help the working class community, let's come up with some ideas and promote these ideas to the legislature so we can get some progress this year.
Okay, now to be fair, we got both sides of the story as we always do here at KUM, and the Guam Homeless Coalition said they actually have some concerns about what Attorney General Moylan, the approach he took in, I guess, the quote from the chair of the Guam Homeless Coalition, Asia Ramos, is, we expressed our concern with the image that the AG's office is displaying of individuals who are homeless and struggling. We have concerns over that approach. In your own work, like in the past with providing, I know you guys did work with the Habitat for Humanity. Have you actually worked with the Homeless Coalition? Because, your job to provide, hook people up with home or connect people with homes, and theirs to account for and attend to the needs of people who are without permanent residence and everything. I mean, I'm sure your paths cross and you guys do work together.
Well, in my work
I have shown the government, some government officials in the past, looking for a large property that would house the homeless. I think it was part of the Homeless Coalition. And then they were working on federal grants to fund the project, but I'm not sure how far that's gotten. I haven't checked in with them. But in terms of helping people find homes, I mean, there's some limitations in our field in terms of meeting the landlord's needs, where there are documentation and income requirements to house people. Everyone has specific budgets based on their income. Some of them are subsidized through the government through Section 8 programs, but they've raised those budgets to accommodate, to compete with the military. So those programs are out there, and that's one way Gina and I have helped in different, cases of programs that they have.
And Gina, you talk about it all the time because the current state of Guam's housing market is that we actually have a shortage in the inventory. So, with people not having permanent places of residence and everything like that, how much more of a sticky wicket does that make the situation?
It's fueling the crisis with the working class community. I keep advocating for that. I mean, there are lots and lots of programs for the low income families, but for working people like you and me and Liz and everybody else in our community who chooses to work and pay taxes, there aren't any programs for them. And that's the biggest crisis we have in that community is there's no acknowledgement that we need to do something to help these people. You don't see developers building unless we start building on a large scale. There cannot be a balance in the community because there's not enough housing, so there's no balance. You have to have an oversupply to bring these prices down, and you're not going to get that. And you mentioned something about working with Habitat. I want to state this. Okay, yes, I worked with Habitat, and this is what I noticed the most. The more you do for somebody, the less they'll do for themselves. And when you let go the net, they can't survive. They can't keep the home. They don't know how to pick up their own trash. They don't make their payments very well, even when their payments are $300 a month. So I advocate that you allow people, you give them the liberty of learning how to survive on their own, work for themselves, get their own housing. There are some things you need to provide as a community, as a government, resources, but you need to allow people to build themselves up, because if you don't, they will fail. So I don't advocate for doing everything for everybody. It is not the right way to survive and to prosper. They have to learn how to do it themselves. You provide the resources and you let go, because the more you do for people, the less they will do for themselves. And that is not a long-term solution for
And
our
if you remember,
community.
ladies, that there was that very popular phrase that got echoed so many times during the pandemic years, which was, the stimulus checks that were being distributed and the rent relief and everything. All of those social programs were basically, they said, it's not a hand out, it's a hand up.
That's right. But what's the saying? If you teach a man to fish, he can fish and support his life. If you don't teach him, I mean, all our kids, you have to raise them to, if anything happened to you, they can survive. They can support themselves. I mean, that's my philosophy with my children. I got to teach them so that they can survive. Parents are usually there giving handouts to help them. So is the government. But if you teach them how to survive, get a job, get an education, they will survive. But the entitlement mentality is prevalent nowadays, that it's gimme, 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 versus, as Gina puts it, you got to teach them so that they can survive, just as we teach our children.
And I think it's really interesting because so far the feedback that we've received on that story since we reported it yesterday on all social media and the calls we've been getting and the emails is pretty much 50-50. A lot of people side with the AG's approach. A lot of people side with the Guam Homeless Coalition's approach to this. So obviously a very, very polarizing issue that we have in front of us right now.
Well, I think
Absolutely.
for Guam, keep our crime down, do whatever it takes to protect our community. And if that's what it takes, hey, there's so many things I'm sure that the Attorney General does that people don't agree with. But if it helps our community and keep them safe, what can you say about that versus other states that they let the criminals go? So what is it? Do you want a safe community, or do you want the criminals to proliferate in our community?
Yeah, and everybody watching this right now, we want to hear your comments too. So put them in our comment section right here on whatever social platform you are, because Liz and Gina read all of your comments and they definitely, respond to them as well. We don't always just talk about probate and the statutes of San Jose to make the property transaction go through smoother.
That's right.
Thank you, Jason.
Okay, so
Thanks.
ladies, thank you so much for sharing on this. Certainly, this issue is not over yet. I know there are many more conversations that are going to have to be had by people way higher than me. But interesting to get your feedback as well and your insight.
Thank you, Jason.
All
Thank
right,
you.
travel safe.
House to Home, presented by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.